I know there's a bunch of charts I think we want to go through just to really kind of drive home your point about there being, more mortgage meltdown out there. Let's bring up one of them. I think it has to do with the home prices, and we know that there's been so much pressure on home prices, and hopefully we can bring that up for our viewers. We don't have it yet, but that's the point. I mean, there's so much pressure on prices, correct?
Right. Well, in the long term, home prices are getting back, pretty close. Another 5 or 10% decline from here, and we're probably back to long-term historical trend line, roughly speaking.
Right.
The problem is in the short term, home prices are going to be determined by supply and demand, most importantly, and that you've got a huge surge of supply coming. And one of the things I think may be fooling people right now is when the Obama administration was elected, they promised a plan to mitigate the foreclosure tsunami. And this chart I see right here just shows using two different measures of home prices. Both of them show the bubble in this decade. Both of them show the severe decline. And we're getting back pretty darn close to trend lines. So that's the main point there.
Okay.
The thing is, though, is when bubbles burst, prices don't generally return right to trend line and then stop. Usually there's panic and investor psychology, supply-demand imbalances that shoot prices below trend line. And I think home prices will probably go somewhat below trend line. The only thing that was going to prevent it from crashing well below trend line is the U.S. government is pouring billions, if not trillions of dollars in to try and stabilize the market and, most importantly, keep interest rates very low. That's the
But they're having a tough time even doing that.
I know. And if interest rates start going back up, look out below, because that will be very bad for home prices, because that's really the main thing that is making housing affordable right now and allowing some people to refinance. And it's reducing payment shock when all these bad loans reset. If interest rates are very low, the payment shock is minimal and people might be able to keep making their payments. Interest rates start rising, and a lot of homeowners are going to lose their homes.
Right. Really puts everybody, or the government certainly, in a tough spot to kind of keep those rates low. Let me talk about foreclosure filings, because I know we've got another chart, and that trend line is so definitive in terms of the rise that we've seen.
Right. Well, interestingly, for the past couple of years, of course, is on a straight line upward, the number of foreclosures each month. But then for about 6 months, it's sort of flatlined. And the reason is as I was mentioning earlier, when the Obama administration came in, you can see it sort of spiked up just the past couple months. But before that, it looked like it had plateaued a little bit. And that was the foreclosure moratorium that Fannie and Freddie put into place, all the big banks and the servicers followed, to give the Obama administration a chance to put out their plan to mitigate all of these foreclosures. They did, in fact, put out a plan. I think it was a reasonably well thought out plan. If we're lucky, it'll save 20% of the people who would otherwise be foreclosed on. But now that the plan is out there, all the people who hold the loans, all the lenders, are now figuring out who are the 10 or 20% that they might be able to save. But now the foreclosure machine is up and running again. And just in the past couple months, you've seen a surge again. In a few months down the road, that's going to lead to another inventory overhang, another surge of inventory that's going to really pressure home prices.
Right.
But right now, there's been an artificial diminution of the number of homes for sale because the foreclosure moratorium 6 months ago. And so the combination of that and sort of the spring selling season that brings out a lot of buyers has, I think, fooled people into thinking that maybe home prices have bottomed. And it's really due to a couple short-term factors that are going to go away pretty soon, and home prices still have a ways to go on the way down.
Not to mention that people are still losing thousands and thousands of jobs.
Right. Well, that's the other factor, is we're in the midst of a severe recession, 600,000 jobs a month. Those are 600,000 people who are very likely to be defaulting on, much more likely certainly, to be defaulting on their mortgages. So now it's not just the people who are speculating and the people who always should have been renters, never should have been owners. Those waves are behind us. Now it's just regular folks, and they've lost their job, and home prices are down 30%. They may be underwater on their mortgage, and they can't afford to pay it anyway. So that's what happens during recessions.
So bottom line again, in terms of this mortgage meltdown, what did you say, 7th inning?
We're in the 7th inning of home price declines, but in terms of the overall housing market, we're probably only halfway through the losses and write-downs. And so I just urge people to be cautious when there are buys out there, but there are also shorts out there in the financial sector, and you really got to do your work and understand, which company is and how they're positioned.
We're going to leave it on that. Whitney, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We appreciate it. Whitney Tilson, everybody.